Hey man, so I wanted to get into that franchise you told me about, but I'm not really sure where to start. Yeah, okay, so the movies first then. Uh-huh. Why would they put the backstory of a plot-crucial character in a video game? No, I don't want to read the fucking book to find out. Watch/play/read orders, or experience orders as I'll be calling them today, are super goofy and really fascinating. Because when you envision a franchise in your mind, chances are it follows a very linear progression. Thing 1, then Thing 2, then Thing 3, maybe a spin-off here or there, or a Patreon plug compilation. If you're me, you get the idea. But to me, there is a certain beauty in the controlled chaos of a story that just does not care if you are confused or lost. I'm sure you've seen the charts, the threads, the downtrodden cries of would-be fans. And don't worry, I'll try to alleviate some of that stress today. But my main goal is to get you all to appreciate how weirdly cool a headache like this can be. If that makes any sense, it probably doesn't. Hopefully it will soon. But before we dive headfirst into that lion's den, I have a bone to pick with you, the viewer. And sometimes myself, but mostly you. See, most experience orders are as I've just described, stupid simple. But unfortunately, they get needlessly complicated by goobers with free will who come up with some of the funniest excuses to not get into a piece of media I have ever heard. How funny? Well, I knew a kid back in school who told me that he wouldn't buy the new Call of Duty game because he wanted to play the others first. Yeah, that ain't even the best part, because you see, that game was Advanced Warfare. Remind me again what the fuck that was a sequel to. Video games and movies have it kinda rough when it comes to experience orders, as just the number next to the title can be enough to scare someone away. I can't tell you how many times I've been asked, do I need to play any of the other Persona games before trying 5? The answer is always not at all. They're all self-contained games with some overlapping elements. Lots of people are satisfied with that response, but some are not. There are those out there with evil in their hearts who ask questions not to learn and grow, but only to validate the devious ideas their brain has already concocted. Basically, what I'm trying to say is some people are really stubborn when it comes to this stuff, and when they don't have the knowledge to do so, it's kind of annoying. This is like the inverse of what I was talking about in the It Gets Good Eventually video. A friend telling you One Piece gets good 500 chapters in, yeah, that's stupid. But if that friend told you to start reading One Piece at chapter 1 and you said, nah, I'm gonna start at Arlong Park, now the egg's on your face, dude. Here's the rule of thumb that I've learned to follow. If you're asking questions about a franchise your buddy has already experienced, where to start is huge asterisk, usually very black and white, and they should not screw it up unless they are deliberately trying to sabotage your band. Here's an example. I remember having a conversation with my friend about Resident Evil 2 Remake. I had just finished it and really enjoyed it, so I recommended it to them. Oh, do I have to play the first one beforehand? No, they're loosely connected, but it's not important to understand the narrative. Isn't that the one with Leon in it? It sure as hell is. Oh, well, I watched some guy on YouTube play through Resident Evil 4 when I was a kid, so no thanks, I already know the storyline. But 4 just briefly summarizes it. You didn't see it nearly in full, plus the gameplay is by far the best part here. The atmosphere, the tension, the resource management as you put this intricate puzzle together piece by piece, all while your past mistakes and Mr. Footsteps breathe down your neck. Then there's the reversal halfway through where you have all the weapons and ammo you need to just lay waste to everything you meet, and it, like all of a sudden you're playing Resident Evil 4 again, you didn't even realize it. It is so cool. Yeah, I think I'm actually just gonna play the original on the PS1. Well, I was not expecting that response at all, and I don't even know what to say anymore. I had 2 takeaways from this exchange. 1, I'm not very good at conversation. And 2, what purpose did me giving you advice have if you weren't going to take it? It is not that complicated, just play the video game. In my experience, just the slightest discrepancy in an experience order sets off this chain of events of should I or shouldn't I, followed by you absolutely should, followed by I don't know because of X, Y, and Z, and it's just like, in fairness, there are many good reasons to be apprehensive. You don't want to miss anything important or screw up a potential new favorite franchise for yourself. But at the same time, if I tell you to start with Fellowship of the Ring and I see your dumbass watching the Hobbit trilogy, I am sorry, but you're getting pushed out a window on the first floor, obviously. I don't want you to get hurt or anything. So, minor scuffles like that aside, what happens when you have a franchise that is actually well known for having a problematic experience order? Well, let me throw out a few names for you real quick. Fate, Kingdom Hearts, Star Wars. What do these three have in common? Well, aside from nothing, they all have their respective fans nervously shifting around in their seats at the mere mention of experience orders, because their properties have suffered the curse of becoming notorious for them. And hey, Metal Gear fan here, trust me, I get it, I am on your side. Let's say you want to get into Star Wars. Well, what trilogy do you watch first? You can make a decent argument for all of them. The original trilogy is what came first, and it's actually good. The prequels are the chronological beginning, and they have by far the most intriguing concepts on paper. And the Disney trilogy is the new thing, and why not just watch the new thing, right? Okay, but what about all the supplementary material? Is it okay if I play Battlefront 2 if I don't know anything about the brand? Well, most people just start with the movies, but which Battlefront 2 are we talking about here? Sorry, I just threw up in my mouth a little bit. Oh, what's that? You want to get the new Kingdom Hearts when it comes out? Well, you gotta watch like 15 kids movies that you didn't even know existed beforehand, and you gotta play Kingdom Hearts Dream Fart Poop Kingdom for the Atari Jaguar first, or you were just not gonna understand the storyline. Fate. I don't know anything about Fate, which makes it the perfect subject for a little experiment I'm going to run. Because what right do I have to tell you to take your friend's advice when it comes to experience orders if I don't practice what I preach? And also, this is my chance to find out if I'm wrong and I need to rewrite this entire video. That'll really suck. See, I hold the possibly controversial opinion that despite my jokes and jabs, most franchises notorious for crazy experience orders are being overcomplicated, and the barrier to entry is actually way lower than people think. That could just be a me thing, and don't worry, we'll get to the type of franchise that scares me away soon enough, but for now, I love Haruhi. I'm okay with convoluted bullshit, so I consulted my brother about Fate. He told me Fate Zero was the way to go. And going off of the name and things that I've experienced prior, it sounds like a prequel series, but I'm not sure. That's for the comments to inform me, as you beautiful people always do. Anyways, I plan to watch like 2 episodes to get a good feel for it and see if I was confused or if I wanted to continue, but the first episode is 50 minutes long. So now it bears the burden of being my one and only exposure to this franchise. All or nothing, heaven or hell, let's do this. And after watching it, yeah, I kind of get why it was almost an hour long. The entire episode is this huge string of conversations meant to dispense as much information to the viewer as possible, and set up what I would assume the actual show is about, this war over the Holy Grail. You've got the first scene where it's like, oh husband, 8 years and the Holy Grail will save you or something. But then he's like, but I'm going to be the cause of your death, and she's like, yep, you sure are. Then you've got these two guys walking around this dude in the middle of like this regal looking hallway, and they're explaining more stuff to him. There's a scene with a college kid reading a book in a library, which of course means we're going to get a history lesson from him. There's one where a dude is in the park talking with some lady and a kid version of that tsundere girl who I see gifs of online all the time. I like using this one where she's just laughing at the camera because I'm an asshole. And then of course we can't forget the scene with Miles Edgeworth talking to Satan in his typewriter dungeon. And I don't want to make this whole thing sound aimless. They are building up to the coming battle well. I especially like how all of their conversations converge as they express distress over one particular combatant. He's mastered a shit ton of different magics, and he's also a virgin? I guess that's something scary in this universe. Also, we got vampires, servants, bug wielders. Yeah, I said that right. What the hell is a bug wielder? I threw her into the bug room this morning to see how long she'd last. The fucking bug room? This is a good show. And it all ends off with everyone summoning a servant. College kid gets Simon Belmont, Worm Man gets some armored pretty boy, husband and wife get a random girl, and then the opening played. Honestly, I know I took the piss out of it in my recap, and I know that I essentially got an hour-long exposition dump, but I will say I am interested in what comes next and might actually continue someday. I don't know when, I got stuff to do, I'm a busy boy. But our story doesn't end here, because after I finished watching the episode, I did something I probably shouldn't have. I exited full screen, glanced over at the recommended tab, and noticed Carnival Phantasm. And I decided to watch it because I recognized the name and also wanted to procrastinate writing more for this script. So this is like Cognato, but for Fate from my understanding. It's a short comedy series for superfans who will actually understand all of the references they throw out. I'll admit, not really something I should have been watching at this stage, but you know, Cognato is a 10 out of 10 in my book. So even without the required reading completed, I still thought this was cool. So the takeaway from all my ignorance today, it's that these orders aren't as scary as people say, and the best way to start is to just start. Getting hung up on the details is only going to waste your time and cause unnecessary stress. I mean, look at me, I went off the rails, had my own little adventure, and I'm totally fine and more than willing to keep going. You don't have to have this perfect as God intended experience with media in order to truly appreciate it. Hell, half the time you go in blind to something, you'll probably miss some stuff that you didn't even know existed, and that's okay. For example, I recently watched Killers of the Flower Moon in theaters with a friend. I knew nothing about it going in, I hadn't even seen the trailer. But my buddy knew what the movie was about, and he took a look at the book that it was based on beforehand as well as the real history that inspired it. He told me that reading up on this stuff made him appreciate the authentic feel that permeates throughout the film even more. Good for him. I still enjoyed it just fine. It's not like anyone's acting got worse or the historical weight of this often untold story didn't come through. I wasn't just sitting there thinking, what the hell, why are they wearing cowboy hats? No, I was fine, so you're gonna be fine too. But what happens when things aren't fine? I'm not going to just sit back and pretend like I never have trouble with or lose my mind over a franchise I've been given the stinky eye to. Nobody is immune to this, not even somebody as smart and cool as me. So like I said, there is one type of franchise that scares me off in an instant, and by an instant I mean after hours of agonizing deliberation. I don't think they have an official name, so I'm just gonna call them what they are. Way too fucking big, expensive, and time-consuming. There is something truly terrifying to me about a fictional universe that you do not have enough time on this planet to experience in full. Gargantuan monoliths that have been in the game for like twice as long as you've been alive and have dipped their toes into every single medium possible. Case in point, Warhammer 40k. So, what do I do? No, seriously, if I wanted to get into this, what would I do? I've asked this to friends out of curiosity, and they said, I don't know. What do you mean you don't know? Then I tried doing some research on my own, and every little entry point I uncovered had some caveats and an endless sea of questions attached to them. Do I buy models first? If so, which ones? What books do I need? Do I have to paint before I try the game? What if I don't like it? What if I mess it up? Should I get into it in a different way? What about the books? Okay, well, which one do I choose? Because there are enough of them to fill up half the damn Pokedex. Maybe the video games? Okay, so get this, pal. We license ourselves out to any company with a pulse, so there are dozens of games of a multitude of genres and extremely varying quality. AKA, most of them are bad, and the ones that are good have better alternatives out there. Like, why play Boltgun when I have Doom Eternal and Ultra Kill? Why should I re-download Vermintide 2 when I have Left 4 Dead 2 and a group of friends who actually own it? See, everything about Warhammer fires off it's not worth it signals in my brain. Every avenue explored feels like a dead end. And the thing is, it feels like I'm doing the exact same thing that so many people do to franchises like Fate. The mind gets lost in the grandiose nature of what it's trying to partake in, and has trouble slowing down and just starting, then seeing where it goes from there. The difference maker between something like Fate and Warhammer, aside from sheer scale, is probably my biggest barrier for entry: money and time. Feeling like you've wasted money or time sucks ass, and I hate feeling it. So I mostly commit myself to stuff I know I'm gonna like and avoid taking chances on things that are long or costly. To watch Fate Zero, all I had to do was steal my brother's Crunchyroll password. Not buy a kill team kit, then gather a bunch of newspapers and set everything up. then paint them, and then find a person to play with, all while there's a voice in the back of my head saying you just spent like $50 to $60 in 5 hours on something you don't even know if you enjoy yet. Yeah, so it's a lot easier for me to just go with the weird anime about like magic and holy grails and all that. And that isn't to suggest that time isn't a big deal for franchises that aren't quite super huge multimedia behemoths yet. Chances are if your series was serialized in Shonen Jump and got popular enough to get a long-running anime adaptation, you've experienced a fair amount of no thank yous for being quote-unquote way too long. The community even tries to rectify this by marking all episode that doesn't progress the story in any way or wasn't in the original source material as filler, aka stuff you can skip to speed up your watch. For stuff like One Piece, people will go so far as to cut out everything that they deem not worth it and then just hand it out to you online. Like just read the manga, it's way faster, dude. Entire websites are dedicated to telling you what episodes are filler, and people use it like a litmus test to tell which series are dog shit and which are not. You guys do know that good filler exists, right? My one regret of reading Dragon Ball instead of watching it is that I missed out on the fabled driving episode. So yeah, believe it or not, time for the third time in a row is important. And to close things out, I want to talk about experience orders that use time in clever ways. Now if you know me, you know Haruhi is the easy example for this. They aired the first season out of order, resulting in a surprisingly engaging watch order that has no business flowing as well as it does. Give it a try if you haven't, I think I like it more than the chronological one now. And I'd be remiss if I didn't touch upon media that makes good use of experience orders on a more micro level. Because you know, the order in which you watch scenes in a film or show could be classified as an experience order in its own right. And for movies like Memento and Pulp Fiction, they jumped at the opportunity to enhance their storytelling by being goofy goobers in the cutting room. New mysteries emerge. This big Resident Evil 2 looking ass puzzle intriguingly solves itself as time goes on, making the ultimate payoff so much more impactful. And in the case of Memento, if the film wasn't told backwards, it'd be the most boring film ever made. Stuff like this is exciting, it's cool, it's a headache admittedly, but still it's so fascinating to analyze and discuss, which is why I'm doing it. I love trying to wrap my head around why certain decisions were made for a piece of media. So when a film is like, yeah, we just decided to do everything completely out of order, I'm like, that's sick as hell, and I want to get to the bottom of why you did that. Maybe I'm in the minority there, but man, I just like it, even when it's stupid, and I know it's stupid. The Metal Gear timeline is fucking stupid, but you gotta ask yourself, is it still the greatest franchise man has ever created? In part because of how off the wall and interesting it is in every single aspect, including its play orders? Yeah.
Hey, guess you forgot to record the Patreon outro. Yeah, I know, laugh at this user. So, special thanks to Silent Secondary, Mr. Chocolate Salmon, and Volume Warning,
Drowning Sun!
and the rest of my wonderful patrons.